October 2017, millions of Kenyans were glued to their screens for the first time in the country's history. A sitting Chief Justice had nullified a presidential election. His name is David Maraga. To some, he was a hero. To others, he was a troublemaker. But to everyone, he was a man who stood for something. David Maraga was born on January 12, 1951, in Bunyamatuta, Nyamira County in western Kenya. His father, Daniel Maraga, was a small-scale farmer. His mother, Mama Grace Kemunto, was a devoted Seventh-day Adventist and homemaker. They were not rich, but they were principled. Hard work, faith, and honesty were the values taught at the dinner table and punished if broken. David was the firstborn in a family of 7 children. He naturally became a role model. He would walk several kilometers barefoot to school in the hills of Nyamira, often with a book under one arm and firewood under the other. He attended Nyamira Primary School, where he excelled especially in composition and religious studies. Later, he was admitted to Kisii High School, one of the top schools in the region. There, he was not the loudest student, but the most consistent. While others were distracted by adolescence, David often spent his weekends helping his father in the shamba. After high school, he pursued law at the University of Nairobi and graduated with a Bachelor of Law in 1977. He then proceeded to the Kenya School of Law and was admitted to the bar as an advocate of the High Court in 1978. He didn't chase the high life of Nairobi lawyers. He returned to Nakuru and Kisumu, waiting to serve the people in a quieter and more grounded way. In 1981, David married his sweetheart, Yukabeth Nyaboke Maraga. Theirs was a simple, God-fearing household. Together, they have raised 3 children, including 2 daughters and 1 son. One of his daughters, Daisy Maraga, will later speak about her father's calm demeanor and strong spiritual life. Every Saturday, no matter what, the Maraga'S observed the Sabbath. As Seventh-day Adventists, they never compromised on faith, even when David became a judge. In fact, when applying for Chief Justice in 2016, Maraga told the Judicial Service Commission that he will not work on Saturdays even if a national crisis demanded it. Some called it rigid, others saw it as courage. Before becoming the Chief Justice, Maraga served in various judicial roles. He was appointed as a High Court judge in 2003. He was elevated to Court of Appeal in 2011, and he headed the Judiciary's Integrity and Anti-Corruption Committee. His record was spotless. In fact, during the 2016 Chief Justice interviews, he was asked if he had ever taken a bribe. He simply lifted a Bible and said, "I have never taken a bribe. I am a Christian. I fear God." It was one of the most iconic moments in Kenyan legal history. On September 1, 2017, the Supreme Court of Kenya, led by Chief Justice Maraga, nullified the presidential election, citing irregularities and illegalities. It was bold, it was unprecedented, and it came with consequences. President Uhuru Kenyatta famously called the judges wakora in a public rally, but Maraga stood firm. He said, "This country is greater than any individual." The repeat of elections went on, but many never forgot that ruling. To some, it was a proof that Kenya's democracy had matured. To others, it was the beginning of political division. But for Maraga, it was justice. No more, no less. In January 2021, Maraga officially retired at the age of 70. He left office with his head high. He had not bowed to politics. He had not enriched himself. He had served with dignity. He returned to his home in Nyamira, occasionally giving talks at churches and law schools. He rejected political appointments and stayed away from controversy. Maraga matters in Kenya because in a time when institutions bent to power, he stood straight. Because in a system where bravery is a whisper away, he said no. Because in a country hungry of integrity, he became a mirror of what we should aspire to be. David Maraga didn't trend every week. He didn't do flashy interviews, but he gave Kenya one of its proudest judicial moments in history. Whether you agreed with him or not, you knew one thing: he would not lie to you. As Kenya continues its journey through democracy, corruption, and reform, may the story of Maraga remind us that courage isn't always loud. Sometimes it wears a robe and walks into court on a Monday morning. Kenya is changing. The youth are frustrated, the economy is bleeding, tribal politics are exhausting, and voters are tired of the same process wrapped in different faces. In this vacuum, a candidate like Maraga, who has never run for office, never been involved in scandals, and never shouted at rallies, might seem like a refreshing option. He represents integrity, order, simplicity, and above all, courage. So the question becomes, could a man like this survive Kenya's political battlefield? And if he chooses to run, what kind of Kenya would he promise? Though Maraga hasn't declared his intention publicly, his past gives us clues about what kind of leader he would be. He wouldn't be a populist, but he will be a law-based ethical leader, maybe too quiet for Kenyan politics. Let's be honest, if Maraga decides to run, he'll be entering a world that is opposite of everything he stands for. He is not a billionaire. Will the deep state or cartels allow him to win? Will Kenyans vote beyond tribal lines to support someone so principled? He will be 76 by 2027. Will Gen Z, TikTok voters, and hustlers relate to him? His strong religious beliefs could spark tension with secular institutions and diverse voters. He doesn't belong to a party. Who will support him? Civil society, the church, diaspora Kenyans. And he doesn't play that. And in Kenyan politics, that might cost you the win. So should David Maraga run for president in 2027? That is a question only he can answer. But one thing is clear: Kenya needs leaders with integrity more than ever. Not perfect people, but honest ones. People who value the Constitution over personal gain. People who fear God more than they fear losing elections. People who can say no to power and mean it. If David Maraga ever steps forward, it won't be to seek fame, it will be to serve. And if Kenyans are ready, maybe, just maybe, he could surprise us all. Until then, we watch, we wait, and we pray for the kind of leadership this country truly deserves.